So this is a little awkward, but Turo, I think you and we need to talk. This isn't a rant. I'm not here to try and juice the algorithm or stir something up for the sake of it. And honestly, if there's anyone up there on the higher floors of Turo Towers watching this, and I rather hope there is, I want you to hear it in the spirit that it's intended. Which is, you've changed. I think you know you have. I suspect you think it's a good look for someone else. Maybe you've got bored of me. When we first met, it was exciting, wasn't it? You were the plucky young upstart, out to change the world of rental cars, to disrupt the corporate norm. Me, I was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. Okay, I wasn't. I just wanted a crowbar in a Human League reference. But oh look, that's a Rover SD 3500. Now that would be a super cool Turo classic. Anyway, I realised now I was looking, and there you were. I fell for your energy. You sold me your vision. It was so simple and it was good. You've got a car, someone needs a car, technology connects you. Real people, real cars, real service. I built a proper little business around that idea. Multiple vehicles, I invested in a fleet, learned the platform, tried to build a niche, worked hard on the host side of things. Do you remember? You used to call me your little power host. I called you Turo. What happened to us? You know, I tried to contact you this week, but you've been so busy lately. I had to resort to your online chatbot, obviously, since you have withdrawn the support email, which is part of the problem. You've been so distant. It's like we don't even know each other anymore. When I finally got connected to one of your secretaries on chat, she started out by being so nice. Congratulations on being a power host. You are the motivation and the reason we grow as a company, she said. Honestly, I was touched. I think there may have been tears. 6 minutes later, the same secretary told me I'd actually been routed to her by mistake, and in fact I was, and I quote, just a regular host. 6 minutes. That's quite the relationship arc. Now, I have had some bad, short-lived relationships in the past, but I don't think I've ever been dumped quite that fast. It really put a downer on my Monday. But that interaction, funny as it may be, feels like a pretty good metaphor for us right now, of where things stand. The thing is, Turo, you've been making a series of decisions over the last few years, quietly, incrementally, often buried in terms and conditions or updates that I just had to go along with if I wanted to be with you. And I want to talk about a couple of them now. Firstly, in Bozeman, where I am, I can't speak for other areas, when a guest searches for a car on Turo, they can filter by airport pickup. They find your car, it looks like it's available at the airport, they book it. What they may not realise, and what Turo's booking flow doesn't make especially clear, is that it's defaulted back to your free location, your home address, your business, not the airport. So, the guest thinks they've got an airport pickup. You think the booking is from your registered address, and somewhere in between these two assumptions, someone ends up standing at an airport wondering where their car is. That has happened to me more than once, and it's happened to a lot of hosts. We flagged it multiple times, and it's still there. Last week, though, it happened in a way that really was impossible to deal with. I had a guest, I'll call him Daniel, because that was his name. He messaged me saying he needed to change to an airport pickup. I directed him to the change booking location. He changed it. What I didn't catch, because yes, I should have checked, was that he had changed it to the wrong airport. Not Bozeman, where all my vehicles operate, but to West Yellowstone, which is 2 hours away in the opposite direction, and which I have never, not once before that day, delivered a vehicle. My van went to Bozeman as normal. Daniel and his group arrived at West Yellowstone, and I got a message saying, "Hey, we've arrived. Where should we pick up the car?" So that was a horrible realisation. A group of people, a small remote airport, no car, no realistic way to fix it on the same day. What could I tell him? It wasn't his fault. But here's the thing. How did West Yellowstone even come up as an option for my vehicles in the first place? It turns out that Turo signed an agreement with West Yellowstone Airport, which opened a brand new terminal last summer, and somehow my cars started appearing as available from there. Was it something I did? I can't say for certain that I didn't miss a box I should have unchecked, or that I didn't agree to something via terms and conditions updates, or I just simply made a mistake. But I can say I would never knowingly agree to serve West Yellowstone. So yeah, maybe I'm at fault. But I can say with certainty that the root cause of the problem is this slightly deceptive practice. So why is that? Well, clearly, if you look at it from a more cynical perspective, why would you want to try and make costs appear much lower than they are? It's not an oversight, it's clearly by design. And Turo, this is where I want to zoom out a bit, because none of this is happening in isolation. Anyone who's paid attention will know you've been making come-to-bed eyes at an IPO for years. And look, that's fine. You know, I'm a modern girl. You want to bring some more people into the relationship? Okay, I can work with that. But of course, after you filed, we had all that horrible stuff in 2025. And, naturally, you had to withdraw. I thought you dealt with that really well. I respected you for it. But of course, a stalled IPO doesn't mean the pressure goes away. In fact, it intensifies. Private investors don't just shrug and move on. Your revenue growth was slowing significantly. There had to be staff cuts, and someone somewhere needed the numbers to look a lot better before they could try again. So, what does a company in that position do? It cuts costs. It finds ways to inflate booking numbers. It makes prices look as attractive as possible in search results. You expanded your airport coverage, got yourself onto more dating platforms like Skyscanner, Kayak, etc. All the things that make a prospectus look more healthy. Great, but who provides for all of that? Hosts do. People like me. We provide the cars, the coverage, the airport presence. We take on the operational risk, deal with the customers, absorb the costs when something goes wrong. We are the prospectus, and we were never asked. Meanwhile, the platforms become increasingly focused on guest reviews, almost obsessively so. Guest reviews determine everything now. Your standing, your visibility, your ability to earn. I understand why guests matter. They do matter. But you see, Turo, here's the thing. Some guests are just dicks. Just like some people are. Some people are dumb, and some people are both. That's just a fact of life. Now, before you get on your high horse, no, let me finish. Of course, the vast majority of guests are great. My experiences have been 95% positive. But the number of guests that aren't is growing, and that growth directly correlates to the timeline of you starting to treat the guest as the only person that matters. I want to be crystal clear. It wasn't always this way. You remember that guy we had back in 2023? Of course you do. You know the one, the guy that managed to blow out a tyre and puncture the spare in the same afternoon? How do you even do that? The guy that smoked in the car and left half-full Chinese food boxes in the back seat. Yeah, that guy. I dealt with a real human. I had her email address. It got sorted out. You fined the guy and removed him from the platform. You stuck up for me, and I felt validated. Now, if that happened today, I seriously doubt any of that would happen. I would be back talking to the bots and the offshore call centres. And this is bigger than just you and me, Turo. One thing I'm convinced of. There is a tipping point coming where large companies are going to realise they've vastly over-prioritised the impact of entirely unsubstantiated customer reviews over the people who actually drive their business. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of time. So why not get ahead of that curve? Why not react to it before you're falling down the other side? Turo, you used to be a peer-to-peer marketplace. Now you're increasingly a corporate rental car company that happens to use other people's cars. And if the plan is to squeeze the host community for every drop of juice ahead of another run at a float, then I think people should know what's happening. So what do I actually want out of this? Honestly, I guess I want to go back to how we were. I want you, Turo, to be better. That's it. I want the booking flow to be honest. I want airport delivery reflected. I don't want to be blamed for the stuff that's not my fault, and I want there to be a real process when something goes wrong, not a chatbot telling me to visit helpturo.com. I want there to be some balance, some recognition that without hosts there is no platform. But I know sometimes you can't go back, and sometimes I know you have to lick your wounds and go your own way. I'm not saying I'm leaving tomorrow, but I want you to be honest and let me know if you've moved on. If you no longer believe the things you used to, or if you were pretending all along, and you just wanted to be a boring corporate rental car company in the first place. For me, I'm seriously looking at what it would take to operate independently. That's not a threat. You can't be blind to the fact that the tools exist now, in a way they did not when we met, or even a few years ago. the audience exists, and the value and exposure that your platform brings is, at least from my perspective, diminishing. This is happening while all at the same time I keep being told you want more from me. You keep sending mild threats. I'm only hearing negative, no. And I'd really like that to change. Okay, kind of breaking character now, but Turo, if you did watch this and you got to the end, thank you. I hope, despite me no longer being a power host or even an all-star host at this stage, you might take on board some of the comments. Also, I'm recording this on Memorial Day, and I want to raise with you that I genuinely think you have some forthcoming major issues with West Yellowstone. If you have any interest in finding out what they are or what I believe them to be, I didn't want to put them in public forum. Obviously, you know how to get hold of me. Likewise, anyone else with comments, you know the way.